Welcome back to the Fight Pit, baby. Thank you guys for joining us today. As always, we appreciate you, each and every one of you. The Fight Pit covering every single UFC card every single week. Today, we are looking at UFC 308. Topuria versus Holloway going down Saturday, October 26th at Yas Island. Intro music. What up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining us back in the Fight Pit again today. We are looking at a sweet card coming out of Yas Island. It is UFC 308, Topuria versus Holloway. We've been looking forward to this one. This one is... We got a lot of matchups on this one we've been hoping to see. It's going to be a good one, guys. We're going to be covering the full card, full UFC card, full breakdowns, full predictions, and full bet picks if we have them. With us today, my name is Drew. As always, we got the squad. We got Gagemus Maximus, Gage Bove himself. Downstairs, we have Matt Talks MMA, and chilling across the way, we got Sean Ryan Sports, the boys in the house. You guys can unmute yourselves. Let me know how you doing today. It's great to see you. As always, great to be in the Fight Pit.
Stressing the Yankee game, as one does, playoff baseball. Bought a motorcycle yesterday, so life's pretty good.
I'm very happy to hear that. Those are frustrating things to deal with as far as being a Yankees fan. They just, the boys just let me know that the Yankees just gave up the lead right before we started this one. So stressful times over on the East Coast. Dodgers, it was 1-1 last time I checked. I'm not looking again until we're done.
2-1 Dodgers now.
Oh God, man, it's gonna be one of those days, boys. It's going to be one of those days. Matt, great to have you in with us, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited to break down this card here.
It's going to be a cool one. We got some good matchups on this one. Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria, we've been looking forward to this. I think everybody's been looking forward to this since UFC 300. And things have changed. I'd say a year ago or so, if you said that Max Holloway was going to be getting a title shot, I don't think too many people would be as ecstatic about it as we are now. Ilia Topuria, undefeated, 15-0, crazy. Dude is bad. He's putting it together too. He had some hiccups early on that, were questionable, but he's overcame and he's here, and we got one of the coolest featherweight matchups that I think that is available right now. We will get into all of that in just a second, but before, I am going to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats, online ticket marketplace where fans can buy and sell tickets to sports, concerts, and theater events nationwide. They got you. Vivid Seats has a 100% buyer guarantee. They have the only ticket rewards program around. Grab your seats. They're guaranteed. It's good stuff. We have used Vivid Seats multiple times, and they never let us down. Vivid Seats has over 1 million plus unique and in-demand sports sold on their site. And they have 19 million plus pump fans that have found events using vividseats.com. So thank you so much to Vivid Seats for holding it down with the boys in the house. Make sure you guys check out vividseats.com. Let them know the boys in the Fight Pit sent you. Getting on into UFC 308. Remember, we are doing the entire card. We're going to kick it from top to bottom, let you know everything that we think. The first fight on the card, I'm going to cover. It's Aslan versus Raffael Cerqueira. Cerqueira. One of those is definitely correct. This one actually, I think, is a pretty exciting fight to open up the card with. I can tell you right now, I am not counting on this one to go the distance at all. This one has a finish written all over it. We got Aslan on a 5-fight win streak. He's 13-1 with 13 KO wins, going up against Raffael Cerqueira, who's undefeated, 11-0, 8 KO wins, 7 submission wins, and 1 decision. One thing that I did notice about these guys is that their fights very rarely last past the first round. I think that these guys both throw heavy. These guys are both looking to finish the fight. I believe they might be both newcomers. I know one of them is a newcomer to the UFC for sure. But nevertheless, both of these guys throw hard. Both of these guys have the cardio to go the distance. They just don't like to. They don't like to. It's very rare that these guys go the distance. I think they both have maybe 1 fight each in their last 7 fights that went past the first round or past 1.5. So this one, these guys throw hard. I am absolutely taking this one to go under 1.5 rounds. This could be anybody's fight because both of these guys are dangerous. I'm going to say, just for the sake of making an official pick, money line, I'm going Aslan. And the main thing to stress on this one is that it is not going the distance. So play it safe, go under 2.5. I'm saying that my official bet is going to be under 1.5. I think this one gets finished fast. I think these two guys look to open up the card quick and exciting and furious and kick it off with a bang. And I think these are the two guys to do it. So I'm going under 1.5, 100 million% on this one. Next fight up, I'm going to throw this one over to my man, Sean. Sean is going to, oh God. Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Sean, the floor is yours, sir.
All right, first we'll start off. Me and Gage's faces because Yankees just gave up another 2-run homer to lose the game. So Yankees lost. They're not going to sweep this series. All right, now back to this before I fucking cut my wrists. Rinat is 22-1-1, 10 KO, 7 submissions, 4-0-1 in the UFC. His one draw was, people have it every which way. I watched the fight. I do think a draw was good because I had it 10-9, 10-9 in Rinat's favor, and then the last round he ended up almost losing in a submission for about 30 seconds and somehow didn't tap. And I thought that was a good 10-8, and it was a draw. So I thought that was a good draw. 6 foot, 74-inch reach, 33 years old. He has 3 decisions and one KO finish in the UFC so far, and then the one draw. Then you have Ruziboev, that's 34-9-2, 12 KOs, 20 submissions. That's 32 finishes in MMA is ungodly. He's 6'5" at this weight class. This is 170, and he's 6'5". That's heavyweight height. Yeah. 30 years old, 76-inch reach. His last opponent was Joaquin Buckley, which he ended up losing by decision. Really good fight. If you haven't seen that, go back and watch that fight. He has gone against the better competition so far in the UFC. I do think Rinat is the better, well-rounded fighter. This one, I wouldn't mind if people sprinkle money on Ruziboev winning this fight, just because Rinat ends up throwing very loopy punches. Like when he gets a little more tired going into that second round and third round, he'll start throwing loopy stuff. If he doesn't finish in that first round, he can get finished. I do believe that. Definitely watching that one fight. But if he does, if you don't get to the first or get through that first round, you're going to look pretty bad at the end of the fight, because everyone he's finished, he's beat the crap out of. So I do think the safe bet is to go by Rinat and by finish, even though he's had more decisions in the UFC. Both guys will like standing in this fight, I believe, because Ruziboev, since he's been in the UFC, he's done a lot more standing up. A lot of his, basically all his submissions were outside the UFC. So I'm going to say under 2.5 for sure. I think, and I'm going to go Rinat by KO, TKO. He could even get it in the first round because that's where he's the most dangerous. Incredible power, and he will push the pace the entire fight. And Ruziboev is a counter striker, so it's a really good matchup there. So someone's going to get KO'd, in my opinion.
I love that. I love that. I am not mad at KOs, baby. So we got Rinat money line. The rounds. What'd you say? Over 2.5?
I said under 2.5.
Under 2.5. Nice.
Yeah.
Under 2.5. Are we betting on this one?
I would say under 2.5 is a good bet, and because it's probably even going to be better odds than the -360 for Rinat to win.
Nice. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. I do like those. I agree. These odds, man. These odds on this card, they get a little interesting. A little interesting, especially later on. Next one up, we are going to throw it down to Matt. Matt is going to let us know about Ismail Naurdiev versus Bruno Silva.
Yeah, we got Bruno Silva versus Ismail Naurdiev. Simply put, I think Ismail's going to win this one by decision. Bruno Silva is 1-5 in his last 6 fights. I don't know how he's still in the UFC. He's on a downward trajectory, and I'm just going to follow that path. Ismail is he's 3-2 in his last 5, and he's pretty active as well, but they both are. And I just really don't see anything Bruno Silva has for Ismail. He does have some pretty good grappling, but the striking on the feet is a bit questionable at times, especially shown that against Putin. And I think that Ismail can get it done by decision. I say that a safe bet is going to be over a round and a half for sure.
I dig it. Solid. Next one up, moving right along. We are going to throw it to Gage. We have Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo.
Yeah, this one, I think, first and foremost, I think we'll go the distance depending on who has the score at the end of the fight. I don't know. So get it over, out of the way. Fight to go the distance. Best bet here. Farid will definitely, if he aggressively pursues takedowns, which I think he will, he can strike. I think he's outmatched on the feet, though. Only problem is Victor Hugo has had great success stuffing takedowns, and Farid went 5 for 15 in his UFC debut. Both these guys are 1-fight win streaks in their first fight in the UFC. This will be each of their seconds. So I do think this will come down to takedown versus takedown defense. Hugo has proven that he can in his first fight, but I don't know how the difference in skill level between now and Farid, who was 12-0. So I assume there's a significant difference in skill level. So I'm going to put my money on him pursuing the takedown aggressively, securing a couple of them. He does hunt submissions. Don't think he'll get it, but I do think he'll get on the ground to have control time, and I do think he'll give enough for a split 29-28 Basharat.
The next one is a little tough. This one has had a few replacements, and they have 2 different fights listed. One of them still has Justin Toffa listed. The other one has Chris Barnett stepping in on this one. So I am going to cover Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. That's the one that I believe is the official one for this weekend. I checked out their socials. It does look like Chris Barnett is in camp, is still working. They recently had a fight fall off of a more recent card to where they got rescheduled, but this one we're gonna cover it with Kennedy versus Chris Barnett. And if it changes up, we will let you know. But Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. If this one does go down, I think this is going to be a good fight. I like this one a lot. Kennedy Nzechukwu 12-5 with 8 KO wins, 1 submission win, 3 decision wins. He's 3-2 in his last 5, and 4 of his last 5 fights have ended in a finish, whether it be him or his opponent winning. Similarly, Chris Barnett 23-8 with 18 KOs and 5 decision wins. He is also 3-2 in his last 5, and he also had 4 of his last 5 fights end in a finish, one way or another. This one is, I cannot stress enough that I do not think that this one is going the distance. It could. I've been wrong about these heavyweight fights before, but both of these guys are so capable of finishing the fight. It's not even funny. Kennedy Nzechukwu is 6'5" and has an 83-inch reach. I don't know if you guys have laid your eyes on Chris Barnett lately. He is not 6'5", and he does not have an 83-inch reach. Chris Barnett stands at a massive 5'9", 268 pounds. He has Taekwondo striking skills that you do not see from heavyweight fighters. He has crazy spinning kicks. He's one of the most athletic big dudes that you will ever see. I highly recommend you go check out his fights if you haven't seen any of them. They are a sight to see. Absolutely. Kennedy Nzechukwu, though, is massive. He does have knockout power any which way, whether it's standing on the feet, striking, or if it's a ground battle where he has a dominant position and is laying down ground and pound strikes. Kennedy Nzechukwu can end this fight wherever it goes. And his size is going to play a huge part in this fight. I think that Chris Barnett is really going to have to get creative in this one. Official pick, I'm going to say Kennedy Nzechukwu. This one is going under 2.5. The safest bet, I would say, is fight not to go the distance, because it'll be an amazing feat if this one does go the distance. This one is just too goofy. When you see these guys face off with each other, if they do indeed face off with each other, moving right along, we got Abus Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira, and I'm going to kick it over to Sean Ryan Sports for this one.
Well, this is a very tricky fight. You have the odds at like minus 150 for Magomedov. Some will have 145 or 155. But Magomedov is 26, 6-1, 14 KOs, 6 submissions, 6'2", 78-inch reach, 34 years old. He's 2-2 in the UFC. But don't look at that and be like, oh, he's not good. He lost to Caio Borralho, which is a beast, and he lost to Sean Strickland. And that was Sean Strickland's fight before he beat Israel Adesanya. So another beast. So his 2 losses have been against some phenomenal fighters. Then you have Bruno Ferreira, 12-1, 9 KOs, 3 subs, 5'10", so significantly shorter, 72-inch reach, significantly less of a reach, 31 years old. He's 4-1 in UFC. All fights have ended by KO. One of his 1 loss also being KO'd. His last 8 fights in general have all ended by KO. I watched one of his fights, and he just has insane power. That right hand touches your jaw, you're most likely going to sleep. And that's where it's scary, because Magomedov is the favorite, and he's a cleaner fighter, I believe, all around, on the ground and stand-up. His stand-ups, I do believe, is better than Ferreira. But can his jaw take one? And I do believe Ferreira is going to find a way to touch that chin. This is definitely a safe one to probably pick the under a 2.5 also, or not making the distance. That's probably the safest bet you can do. But I think this is a good underdog pick, and that's what I'm thinking. What I've seen Brunno's going to find a way to get in there and get to that chin. And so I'm going to pick Bruno Ferreira by KO. Probably the second round, it might take him a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if we find a KO in the first.
Next one up, we're throwing it to Matt for the breakdown of Said Nurmagomedov versus Daniel Santos.
Yeah, so we got Said versus Santos. I'm going to go with Said Nurmagomedov in this fight. He's a way more active than Santos. He has 5 fights within the last 5 years, so about a fight every year, not too active. Whereas Said has 5 fights since 2022, so definitely has the momentum on his side. He did have a loss against Jonathan Martinez in a split decision. I think it was definitely a learning experience for him, and I think he's going to be able to get the decision in this one. If Daniel was a little bit more active, I'd probably lean a bit more towards his way. I do like the Chutu box gym and their style, but ultimately I'm going to have to go over a round and a half if you're going to bet on this one as well.
Nice. I agree with you, dude. Shoot the Box has been one of the absolute most dominant gyms for so long. They are, everybody who comes out of there, you can guarantee that they have solid striking, solid Muay Thai, and solid BJJ. Like, it's a given. And probably bleached hair too. 9 times out of 10. Next one up, I'm going to throw it over to my boy Gage. He is going to let us know about Mateusz Rebecki versus Myktybek Orolbai.
This is, I've seemed to always get Mateusz Rebecki's fights, and that's just a funny coincidence at this point. Just like every woman's fight that's on the card. This is going to be, I think, who can dominate the grappling, and Orolbai is massive in comparison, height-wise and reach-wise. He has, I think 8 inches in reach. I think he's got, it was 74-inch reach to like 6-inch reach advantage, which is massive for grappling purposes. And they both shoot a lot, or are pretty even on the feet. So really going off of physical attributes, their last fight, and I'm doing a little bit of research just to back up that he is. So does have the reach. Yeah, 74-inch reach to 66, so it is an 8-inch reach advantage and a 2-inch height advantage, and he's younger by 5 years. They have similar style, both like to get on the ground. I think Orolbai is going to take it with a submission. He's going to get him to the ground, hunt a submission, and just wear and tear Rebecki until he just tires out and can't fend off the hands in late round 2. So if you're going to take a bet, I would know my official pick would be over 1.5.
Over 1.5. Like it. And I do apologize. I didn't know that you always get the Myktybek or the Rebecki fights. But I will admit the reason that it did work out that way is because I did the order so that you would end up getting the Dan Ige fight. That was the main thing that
I appreciate that.
I literally started at Dan Ige with Gage and went backwards doing this. I was like, dude always gets the women's fights. I have to make sure he gets the Dan Ige fight on this one. Last one on the prelims. The prelim featured fight. The odds on this one I think are a little bit suspect. We got Geoff Neal opening at a -250 versus Rafael dos Anjos opening at a +205. I do understand why the odds are that way, but dude, Rafael dos Anjos he's one of those dudes that is capable of dominating anybody. We thought, I mean, even way back when he first changed weight classes, you kind of thought he might be a little undersized. He might struggle. He's been dominant. he's been dominant. He has had dominant performances over some of the toughest middle or welterweights that have been in the weight class. Robbie Lawler, just ever since he came up, he's been surprising me. Geoff Neal coming in with a 15-6 record, 9 KOs, 2 submission wins, 4 decision wins. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Rafael dos Anjos, 32-16, been fighting since he was a baby. 5 KO wins, 11 submissions, 16 decision wins. Also 2-3 in his last 5. Geoff Neal coming into the fight off of his split decision loss to Ian Gary in February of this year. Before that, he fought a little-known fighter by the name of Shavkat Rakhmonov. Lost that by a submission in round 3. Previous fight to that, Vicente Luque finished the fight in round 3 by KO. Prior to that, Santiago Ponzinibbio split decision. Neil Magny, Stephen Thompson, Mike Perry, Nico Price, Bilal Muhammad. Those are all of his previous opponents in a row listed. So Geoff Neal has 100% faced high caliber competition, facing somebody like Dos Anjos, who's a former champion, somebody who's a very seasoned veteran who's seen it all, done it all. It's not the first time he's facing anybody of Rafael dos Anjos's caliber by any means. His nickname is Hands of Steel for a reason. He is capable of shutting your lights out at any moment. And if Rafael dos Anjos is not careful, it's possible. But the thing that stood out to me, though, in his fights, they have tend to go later. Whether he wins and gets a finish, whether it's a decision, whether he loses a close split one. Losing a close split decision to Ian Gary, that's, Ian Gary's still one of those guys with the aura going on right now. But that does tell me that the later that the fight goes...
I'm not gonna let that pass. There was no aura from Ian Gary. Let's just...
I don't agree that there's an aura, but it's perceived that there's an aura. Yeah, I don't think that he's I don't think he's gonna be the guy that they're making him out to be. But Geoff Neal taking him to a split decision just proves our point. Rafael dos Anjos' most recent opponents, coming off of a fight with Mateusz Gamrot in March, lost by unanimous decision. Prior to that, Vicente Luque, Brian Barberena, Rafael Fiziev, Renato Moicano, Paul Felder, Michael Chiesa, Leon Edwards. So he is Kevin Lee, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. He not only fought the top of the tops at lightweight, he's fought the top of the tops at welterweight in multiple generations. And it's impressive to say the least. He's done very well, beat Robbie Lawler, beat Kevin Lee, beat Renato Moicano, who's right up there right now, beat Paul Felder, beat Brian Barberena, coming off a couple losses, tough to Mateusz Gamrot. They're both decisions. He did lose by KO very late to Rafael Fiziev. But most of his fights have tend to carry later in the fight, whether it be a 3-round or a 5-round fight. So this one, I think, is an awesome fight to be featured for the prelim main event. My official pick, smart money, I would probably say Geoff Neal, but I'm absolutely hedging on Rafael dos Anjos by decision because he's one of those guys that can pull it out. He's seemed to do that. He's lost to guys who are in the top 10, top 5 area and beaten a lot of them too. But he doesn't. He's not somebody that you should count out very often. This one I do see carrying on later. I'm gonna say over 1.5 to be safe, but official pick, I think it will go to a decision. I'm going to say over 2.5, and I'm going to say Geoff Neal money line. Official pick, I'm going to go Geoff Neal. Rounds, I'm going over 2.5. If there's a bet on this one, I say safe bet is over 1.5 rounds. Even if there is a finish, I think it's clear in 1.5. Absolutely. And that is going to wrap up the prelim card for UFC 308. We get on to the main card, kicking it off with a solid fight, one that I'm looking forward to. We got Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan, and Sean is going to do the honors for this one.
Oh, this is a fun fight. This is definitely a fight that was put together to start off a show, and this is why. You have Magomedov that is 14-0, 11 KOs, 0 submissions. Armen Petrosyan, 9-3, 6 KOs, 0 submissions. They aren't even going to try to shoot a takedown. This fight is just kind of like the main event of Alex Pereira and Khalil Roundtree, where they're just going to stand there and say, let's see who can knock out the other person first. And that's exactly what you're going to get. Magomedov is 6'2", 73-inch reach, 30 years old, 3-0 in the UFC. He has 2 decisions and a KO. We were thinking he was going to KO everyone, but one of his decisions, he absolutely destroyed the other guy, but he had somehow stayed alive. Then Armen Petrosyan is 6'3", 71-inch reach, 33 years old, 4-2 in the UFC, 4 fights of those have been by decision. So we have quite a bit of decisions between these two. These guys are knockout artists, which is, it's weird. It tosses me in a weird loop here. It's like I'm going to pick Magomedov. I think that's the safest bet, but going by decision or KO is the weird one, because these guys can throw hands, and Armen actually is more of a power puncher, so I do think Shera's going to piece him up quite a bit. I think I'm going to go with a TKO KO in the second round, just like my last pick, because I think he's going to piece him up the whole first round, and then going into the second round, he's going to be hurt and he's going to get the job done.
I agree. I like the way you think on this one, dude. This one is it's an interesting one. I know Kyle would be all over. I feel like Kyle would be all over Armen Petrosyan on this one, opening at a plus 154. Definitely one that I think he would encourage us to hedge on, but I agree 100% with you, Sean, on that one. It's a dope one. I think that one's going to be fun. Next one up, I am going to throw it down to Matt Talks MMA. We have a big one that we've been hearing about for a while. This one has a lot of stakes on the line. Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic.
Yeah, this one, whoever wins this one is fighting for the title next. He's fighting Alex Pereira, and I'm going to go with Magomed Ankalaev on this one. I like his hype. I like the momentum that he's going on. I like that he presents a takedown threat. I feel like that can be pretty important against Rakic. And he's also not very active. I know he did just come off of an injury. Let me see here when that was. Against Jan Blachowicz, it was a leg injury, and then he came back. His first fight back was against Yuri. So he was out for 2 years. That injury robbed him of a couple of fights, and I ultimately give it to Magomed Ankalaev. And I would say he TKOs him. He did take a lot of damage in the Yuri fight, and I feel like he's went through a lot of wars, and his chin is going to break in this one as well.
Sick. Official pick. We got Ankalaev on that one. Do you have a rounds pick?
I would say for this one above a 1.5, but I can see it being in the middle rounds, round 3, late round 2 maybe.
I like that. I agree. This is a tough one too, because I mean I've never been too high and mighty on Rakic. He was billed as like one of those guys like Ankalaev, who was an up-and-coming like dark horse, someone that was going to challenge for the title. I just haven't seen it out of Rakic, you know? It's not living up to what I thought. And the odds surprised me too. I mean, that's Ankalaev opening at a minus 395 and Rakic at a plus 310. I would have figured those would be a little closer. Next one up, throwing it to Ige. He is going to let us know about Lerone Murphy versus Dan 50K Ige.
It's like you set me up and you knew where I was going, Drew. I was looking at this fight when the outline came out that you so graciously put together for us this morning. It's hard to go against Lerone Murphy. He's undefeated, looked excellent, striking's phenomenal, ground game's great, will pursue submissions, will get them, well-rounded in every way, shape, or form, everything you could want in an up-and-coming fighter. Everything you could want. Step up in competition to Dan Ige. Dan Ige coming off one of the most impressive fights in recent memory. Literal last hour said, yeah, I'll step in and fight Diego Lopez, who's arguably top 3 hottest fighters in the UFC right now. The word aura gets thrown around a lot now. That is what I think of that fight for both of those guys.
I think that he is top 3 in the division now too.
Yeah. And he did just beat Brian Ortega. So yeah, he might actually be top 3 in the division. Danny Ige showed a lot that he could handle, because Diego can do anything. He can push you out, he can piece you up, he can take you down, he can submit you, and Dan Ige looked phenomenal, and I think he did win round 3, which is not what you thought was going to come into the guy who stepped in on like 2 hours notice. That is the edge I'm going to give Dan Ige, and I'm going to go with Dan Ige being the dog in this fight. He can stifle takedowns and can also get them himself. I think that will shut down Lerone Murphy's takedowns, because I don't know how he's going to match up to the next step in competition. And Dan Ige can throw with the best of them. I'm hedging with experience. I do believe Dan Ige is going to go on a run, and shutting down a highly touted prospect on a pay-per-view will be a great step in the direction that way I think Dan Ige is going to go on. So I do have Dan Ige by decision. Will survive the storm. Will take the guy who's not used to fighting at the same pace as Dan Ige for 15 minutes, tire him out, and just drown him out.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Dan Ige opened at a plus 154. Absolutely a candidate for Dog of the Week. Only a candidate at this point because we still got 2 more. Co-main event time, baby. We're going to hit the round robin on this one and get everyone's thoughts and picks on our co-main event. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Dog of the Week is going to be difficult this week, guys. Dog of the Week is going to be difficult. For me, at least. Khamzat Chimaev opened at a minus 198 to Robert Whittaker's plus 164. Currently, per William Hill, Robert Whittaker is sitting at a plus 185. Khamzat Chimaev has ballooned up to a minus 225. I find that quite interesting. Quite interesting. We do have the knack for choosing dogs on this show. We do have the knack for choosing dogs correctly. If you were following along with our picks for the last couple months, I think Jose Aldo in that decision against Batista that everybody hated, that's the only dog of the week we've missed in like the last eight cards or so. Robert the Reaper Whittaker coming in at a 26-7 with 10 KO wins, 5 submission wins, 11 decision wins. He is 4-2 in his last 6, coming off of a round 1 KO over Ikram Aliskerov back on June 22nd of this year. Khamzat Chimaev, though, 13-0. 6 KO wins, 5 submission wins, 2 decision wins, has not fought since October of last year, the short notice Kamaru Usman at UFC 294. Prior to that, he hadn't fought since Kevin Holland in September of 2022. And for somebody who came in and had like 6 fights in the first year and a half or so of his career, we haven't seen him very much. We'll take it clockwise. We're going to start with Gage. Gage, let us know how you got this one.
Well, if you couldn't tell, as I always do when Robert Whittaker is fighting, by the name itself. Let's start with Khamzat, what he is as a fighter. Unparalleled grappling, strength, just sheer domination in every which way, shape, and form when he is healthy and does make it to the octagon. Very few surpass him in his suffocating game plan, and fewer can defend against it. Negatives: can't stay healthy. Weight cuts are awful for him, as proven again and again. So I don't know how healthy he's going to be stepping in there with Robert Whittaker, which you need to be at 100% if you're going to fight Robert Whittaker. It's flat out what it needs to be. He hasn't fought like an actual person in the weight class since Kamaru, and Kamaru has no knees and was on short notice. Before that, Kevin Holland was at catch weight because he couldn't make weight, and that whole shit show. And it goes even further back from that. Like, he hasn't actually had a fight in, I think, 2.5 years. Like, legitimately a fight. That was at the weight class he's in. Robert Whittaker, on the other hand, this fight was supposed to happen. I think it was Ikram stepped up. And we saw sheer striking domination from Robert Whittaker. Khamzat, I think, will shoot 15 times. I think he gets 3 to 4 of them. I do. I think Robert Whittaker can match his strength. Robert Whittaker dominates him on standing up. Dominates him standing up. And he has 82% takedown defense. And I think that's the key here for Robert. He needs to keep those takedowns to a minimum and get to his feet as fast as possible. Don't want Khamzat sapping the life out of him, using his body weight to just sap energy from Robert. I do think Khamzat, after his layoff, is going to try to end this quickly, make a statement, really close the distance on Robert and try to get him down. And I think that's going to backfire real bad. And he's going to get chinned, and it's going to be sleep time for Khamzat. I have Robert Whittaker knockout under 2.5, boys.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Sean, how are you feeling about this one?
I feel like this fight's going to go one of 2 ways, and that is going to be either Khamzat Chimaev dominates, gets him down, and beats the hell out of him, gets his neck, or even TKOs him, gets the finish in round 1, if not early round 2. Or the other way will be Robert Whittaker will weather the storm, and like Gage said, he can handle with the best wrestlers. The only wrestler that actually did something to him was Duplessis, but that was awful. Also because of a shot that a hook he ate. That's where it's tough, because I think that my other option is Robert Whittaker to win by TKO KO in the later rounds, in the 3rd, the 4th, or even the 5th round. Weather the storm, let him get tired, which we've seen multiple times, versus Khamzat versus Gilbert Burns, Khamzat versus Kamaru Usman. I know he said he broke his hand and he was injured after the 1st round, but we don't know. Like, as fans, we got to just take him at his word, or we could call him a liar, whichever. But at the same point, he looked like he was gassed in both those fights, which he won. So that's great that you gassed and you still have heart to win the fight. But I do think that the hype is real. I do believe the hype is real. Khamzat Chimaev 2nd round finish. Nice,
good shit. This one is tough. This one is tough. We got Matt. Matt up next. Let us know what you think about Whittaker and Chimaev.
Sean pretty much said it in a nutshell. It's one of 2 ways. We either see Chimaev TKO him or sub him in the first couple rounds, or Whittaker TKO him in the later 3rd, 4th, or 5th, like he said. I'm ultimately going to go with Whittaker. I think his experience is gonna play a big part in this. I think Chimaev is gonna go out there and he's probably gonna be a bit too reckless in the couple of rounds. He's gonna gas out. We saw it with Kamaru Usman. He gassed out against him, and he's eventually gonna get TKO'd. As long as Whitaker can weather the storm and that he can use his veteran experience to do so, I think he has this in the bag. If you're gonna bet on this, I would say bet on for a finish for sure.
That's a good call. That's a good call. I like that. Excellent breakdowns, fellas. I would have to say that I am going to go with Robert Whitaker money line, just based off of how active he's been, how long it's been since Khamzat has been in there. Khamzat, of course, always tough, can always overwhelm you, and is capable of winning decisions, as we saw with Gilbert Burns. But it is very tough. Those are the two most likely outcomes. You guys nailed it. Very difficult to choose between which of those two is more likely to happen. Could go either way. I think it's definitely going to depend on how Khamzat is physically. If he's not in the condition to be able to put the pressure on for 3 rounds like he did, we saw him fade against Usman. Usman's a welterweight, and Robert Whitaker, former welterweight, but been at middleweight for quite some time. Been doing, I don't know if anybody heard, but Robert Whitaker has done well at middleweight. So this is no walk. This is not going to be a walk in the park for Khamzat, at least I think, unless he catches a Gerald Meerschaert right hand in the first 11 seconds or so. For the sake of making a pick, I'm going to say Robert Whitaker money line. I am going to say over 1.5. Anybody's guess as far as how much further past that it goes. And that is going to take us on to the main event, UFC 308 main event. We have Ilia Topuria versus Max Blessed Holloway. Ilia Topuria, perfect 15-0, 5 KO wins, 8 submission wins, 2 decision wins, 0 losses, coming off of the round 2 KO of Alexander Volkanovski in February of this year. Prior to that, the win over Josh Emmett 2023, Bryce Mitchell 2022, Jai Herbert 2022, Ryan Hall 2021. Steadily been working his way up as far as the caliber of fighters that he's been beating, and finishing Volkanovski by KO. We said it multiple times leading up to that card. Very suspect. Would not have had Volkanovski in that fight. Max Holloway coming in with a 26-7 record. He has 12 KO wins, 2 submission wins, 12 decision wins. He is 5-1 in his last 6. His 1 loss in his actually only 3 losses since July of 2019 have all been Alexander Volkanovski. Other than that, he's smoking everybody. Absolutely smoking everybody. Coming off of course, the BMF champ fight at UFC 300 against Justin Gaethje in April of this year. Prior to that, knocked out Korean Zombie. Prior to that, unanimous decision win over Arnold Allen. Unanimous over Yair, unanimous decision over Calvin Kattar, unanimous decision over Frankie Edgar, TKO of Brian Ortega, TKO Jose Aldo, TKO Anthony Pettis. The reason I'm listing so far back, the reason I give you these is because Max Holloway is currently sitting at a plus 215, which I think is fucking bonkers. I have no idea who made the odds on this one. I'm going to start it off and let you know right now that I'm taking Max Holloway. I have no idea why anybody would put Max Holloway unless you just really want me to make money on it. That's the only reason I can think of it. He only loses to champions. He only loses to the absolute top of the mountain, whatever mountain it is. featherweight, lightweight. We've seen, in the title fight against Dustin Poirier, interim title fight against Dustin Poirier, didn't have as long of a build up to moving up weight classes on that one as he did with this last one with Gaethje. You saw what happened when he had plenty of time for Gaethje. Very, very, very few seconds in that fight that he was not winning. Took Justin Gaethje almost all the way to a decision and was winning the entire way. Did the same thing with Korean Zombie. Did the same thing with everybody that I listed. I have no idea why Max Holloway is such a big underdog in this one. The hype on Ilya is crazy. I get it, but like we said, that Volk fight, I don't feel like that should have happened at all. But official pick, I'm going Max Holloway. I'm going to say over 2.5. I think if this is a slugfest like Ilya is making it out to be, if he's down to throw down, if he's going to point to the ground, do the Max Holloway and see what happens, things could get super fun, super quick, and it might be a very quick night. But otherwise, I got Max Holloway winning this fight later, whether it's a decision or a finish later on. I'm going Maxi, baby. So we'll take it counterclockwise on this one. We'll start with Matt. Matt, let us know who you got in this main event.
All right, so I'm going to go with Ilya Topuria. I think that the grappling is going to be the biggest difference here. I think Ilya Topuria might get outstruck a little bit on the feet. I feel like people forget Ilya was originally a grappler, and Max Holloway did get taken down by Yair Rodriguez, who was a Taekwondo guy, on the feet guy. I feel like this one's also going to be by decision. It's going to be a war, and Ilya Topuria is probably going to win the first couple of rounds, and then in the end, Max might start coming back, winning the third, the fourth, and the fifth. But ultimately, I have this one by decision. Ilya Topuria, I would say it over, like Sean said, 3.5. I'm pretty confident that this will probably go to a decision.
Sean, let us know who you got in this main event.
I'm going to jump in right where Matt left off. I'm going to be taking Ilya Topuria. I'm going to be taking him by decision, and I do believe at this point, Dustin Poirier versus Islam Makhachev is the best fight of the year. I do believe there's a chance we can have the best fight of the year this Saturday. If this goes 5 rounds, I think Ilya, the thing that he has a great fight IQ, incredible fight IQ. Max wants to brawl. He wants to box. Ilya's an incredible boxer, but he has that incredible grappling and better than Volkanovski. And that's why Volk stayed on the edge of the cage the whole entire time, because he was even worried about getting taken down. And I think Max Holloway will get taken down a couple times. He'll get back up because he always does. He's gone against incredible grapplers his entire career. But I do think it'll win him rounds. But I think the strikes landed, everything, the damage being done to both of them. Max's chin is not going to get broken by Ilya, in my opinion. He was put on his ass by Justin, but that was a good period of time ago. He wasn't knocked out, so I think his chin is fine. I do think this will be a close fight. Max Holloway definitely can win some rounds, but I think it's going to be going over whatever round you want, so you could do 3.5. I think Ilya is not going to point at the ground right away, and I think Ilya is going to win by decision in a hell date of a fight. This will be a contender for fight of the year, in my opinion.
I hope so, dude, because it has the potential for it. It absolutely has the potential for it. It's going to be fucking awesome. Gage, hit us with it. Who you got?
Glad to make it that we are splitting 2 and 2 here. Just to start off saying the best is blessed and go from there. Max Holloway does not lose to people not named Alexander Volkanovski. He's been doing this for years. Has the most experience out of anyone in the UFC and is still young enough to do it. He's a very rare case. Ilya's got great boxing, has phenomenal power. Yes, he has more power than Max. Is he as accurate as Max? No. Does he have Max's cardio? Also no. Max has been fighting 5-round fights longer than Ilya has been fighting. And Max has done a great job against heavy-handed opponents, not getting caught, keeping his head moving, keeping his body moving. chopping the legs, not getting caught clean, keeping his hands up. He does all of this at the highest level possible. And I just don't think Ilya is that guy. Ilya's competition has been good, but it hasn't been great other than Alexander Volkanovski, who we all agree should not have been fighting at that point in time. That being said, as Sean brought out, Ilya can grapple, but I think Max has seen it, been there, done that. Has great takedown defense. I think him bulking up to 155 is going to be even better for him. He'll look great. He did it the right way, and he doesn't look like he's going to have a rough cut either, which is massive. Max is the best boxer in UFC, the most accurate boxer in UFC, holds records for the reason, and I'm ready to start the Max Holloway era in featherweight. Volk versus Max, part 4, incoming.
Let's go. It's the top floor versus the bottom floor, baby. We all for the most part have it going past the first 2 to 3 rounds. I like that. We are splitting on this one, so it's not a unanimous official pick, but either which way, man, somebody's going to be happy. Somebody's going to be happy. This one, gosh, I don't know, like I said, how hyped everybody would be about this fight, say, you know, back in February or so when Ilya got it, or last year after the last Max and Volk fight. But so stoked on this one now. This one, I really hope that it does go later, because if it does, we're going to get an absolute gift, a very early Christmas gift, a Halloween gift on this one. We're going to wrap up with the lock and dog of the week. I am throwing out, of course, Max Holloway as a candidate for dog of the week on this one. I actually think the last 3 fights, Ige, Whitaker, and Max Holloway, I'm probably going to throw a couple dollars on that just in case. I think all those guys have a solid chance, and hitting all 3 of them together would be good stuff.
Sensational, as they say.
Sensational. Ige, Whitaker, and Holloway, you're looking at a plus $24.99, so $25 on the dollar. Not too shabby. $5 bet gets you over 100. I dig that. Doesn't happen often. Anybody else? You guys go ahead and fire away. We'll start with the dog of the week.
I'm stuck between Robert Whitaker and Max. I'm gonna go Max.
Those last 3 are killer.
I have to go Max.
Max, we got 2 for Max. Boys downstairs. Matt, Sean.
I'm gonna have to go with Robert Whitaker. I think there's a bit of pressure on him. I feel like this is his last run to a title shot or any title contentions, and it's either make or break this weekend. And I'm gonna have to put him as the dog for the card.
I like it. Those last 2 are so tough, man. It's like veterans who were champs and guys who have been doing it, who don't lose very often, against undefeated, up-and-coming hype trains. Very tough. Sean, who do you like in this for the dog of the week?
I'm going to agree with Matt. I'm going to go with Robert Whitaker. I just feel like that fight is so close to 50-50 because there's only like 2 ways that fight's going to end. While the Max Holloway Ilya, there's many different ways that fight can end. So I got to go with Robert Whitaker. And I'm definitely making an underdog parlay. Even though I picked favorites most of the way and definitely the co-main event, I'm definitely making Robert Whitaker and Max Holloway parlay for sure. No doubt. And maybe even Dan Ige in there too.
Bro, got to. Not very often, if ever, you're going to get 2-to-1 odds on either of these guys. So we got 2 votes for Holloway, and that's 2 votes for Whitaker. So we'll split that one. We'll give that an honorary like dual champs type of scenario where we do dual dogs. Lock of the week. That one's a little bit more difficult. I'll let you guys start that one off. Fire away on them.
I'm gonna go with Magomedov and Goliath for the main card. Just Ratchik has not won the big fight yet in his career, and he's going up against the clear number one contender at this point, and he's going to try to make a statement to make sure that he's going up against Alex Pereira next.
I believe it. I like that. That's a good solid lead. Matt, how about you, brother?
I'm gonna have to go with Geoff Neal. I think that he showed good takedown defense against Bilal Muhammad, the current welterweight champion. I personally think Rafael dos Anjos is a bit undersized for the welterweight division. That was kind of apparent with the Vicente Luque fight. He was getting out-grappled a little bit. And on the feet, I don't think it'll be too close. I think that Geoff Neal will outbox Rafael dos Anjos, and I pretty much have him as a lock for me at least.
That's a good one. That's a solid one. I do like that one. Gage, who you got?
It's rough. I'm gonna go Shar Bullet.
Shar, very good. That's one of the other ones I was thinking too. Ankalaev and Shara, very tough. That's a toss up for me.
I was stuck on, but I do think Ratchik's always has a chance. He's got a puncher's chance in the truest word. I think the hype train's real. I really do, and I gotta stick with it.
I agree. Yeah, I give Ratchik a much better chance at getting it done against Ankalaev than I do with Shara's opponent getting it done. Shara has shown that he's capable of drifting into the later rounds and everything. Not always going to get it done super quick, but he's been dominant. Very tough. I'm probably going to have to lean Shara too. We got Ankalaev, Shara, and Geoff Neal on those ones. Boom. And then the dogs of the week, co-dogs of the week, we are going Whitaker and Holloway. Bam. So we're definitely not going to go 100% on this one since we're splitting them up. We're not unanimous, but as far as all of our unanimous picks, official picks, I'll put them down on the screen right now. There you have it, guys. There you have it. The full UFC 308 card breakdowns, predictions, and bet picks. I really like our odds on this one, boys. I like our odds on this one. We've been killing it lately. Follow the official FightPit on Instagram. You can see our results for all of the picks for every single card, how we did, which ones we got right and wrong. Keep track, have fun with it, and bet responsibly. Everybody, make sure you bet responsibly. Anything else that we want to throw out there before we wrap it up, guys?
The Saints defense sucks. That's why.
Tune in, guys. Tune in. The NFL episodes, the Gridiron House Call, the Gridiron channel, where you can also get the NFL picks, one of our sister channels. You should be able to find all of them if you click on our channel and scroll all the way down. It'll have all of our extra ones. And of course, you can find all of us, 2 Gage B3, Sean Ryan Sports, and Matt Talks MMA. I'll have all of our handles on here. You can follow us, shoot the shit with us, talk trash, do whatever you like to do. But yeah, be sure to follow us. Subscribe to the Fight Pit if you are not already. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on the next one. Peace.